Danny Suarez, who's from Mexico to the city. So we've got these young, up and coming winners on the racetrack that can wheel a race car that's resonating with our fan base. So right now, I believe, and this is maybe I'm not an expert to say this, but just my own eye test, I think the racing that we have right now on our racetracks is the best we've ever had.
You're also going through a lot of innovation. One of the things that I admire from afar that the sport's doing is, look, by losing those, big names, by different TV dynamics over the last 15 years, 10 years, we're not at the apex of NASCAR as we sit here today in the way that we were. What would you consider? You've been here 14 years. You're a fan. What is like the last real white hot kind of like era? Would you say?
I would say, probably 07 to 09.
Yeah, was that when Nextel was the?
Nextel came in 2004
yep.
with that season.
Yep. So, what's really interesting is, this is something I yell about with baseball, and I think they're finally starting. And I have empathy. Baseball is such, when you start getting into 200 years and shit. But you guys are really innovating. Like you guys are doing things that I kind of slightly am curious what the old school 30, 40, 50-year fan is thinking. Like when you start changing sports, people, heck, I'm a diehard football fan, and I really don't want an 18-game schedule for one weird reason. It throws off me understanding how to calibrate stats. So change is hard, but you guys have absolutely shown the willingness and have announced more changes to come. Innovate, and from a business standpoint, I'm always innovate or die. That has not been the historic point of view of sports at all.
I agree.
And I feel like you guys, I'll let you talk, but outside of other leagues, most of basketball's innovation came from the ABA. Most of the innovation for the NFL came from the USFL or the XFL. It usually comes when you see a pop of that. You guys are doing it to yourself.
Yeah. No, I think for us, we think it was important to do exactly that because fans, existing fans and then new fans you're trying to get to watch our sport, we need to make sure that they are entertained. And we've been criticized about, hey, you're chasing the entertainment, you're chasing, the answer is yes, it needs to be compelling. And so we have created things like stage racing, so 3 different segments of our races. And then there are points you can get as a driver that help you get to our playoffs, right? So playoffs, new concept for us that we introduced. Segments, new concept that we introduced. Different, the race car itself and what we're doing today and where we're going with the race car in the future.
What's been the reaction to that?
It's interesting.
It's always pro and con. I'm curious. I
promise I'll let Jill talk, but I get excited. I think for
you
us...
You grew up a fan. Jill didn't. This is appropriate.
So I had 3 cousins that drug me to the local dirt track, so they're all just mad at me still today that I have this job and they don't. So shout out to those 3.
So I think for us, a lot of the things that we have introduced, typically it's a 50-50, right? So you have half your fans that say, hey, I like that, and half you don't.
Yeah.
And so we've been able to do, because the things, we do a lot of research and a lot of analytics and insights in terms of what we believe is going to work. And sometimes fans don't know what is going to work. They don't, they're kind of stuck in, hey, this is what I like.
Yeah,
and so change is hard.
If I listened to my customer, I would have made a faster horse.
Right.
It's, and you guys know I'm always like, listen to the customer, but then I always counter it with that. That's just the truth.
So for us, it's kind of in what happens, right? So we've been able to, a lot of different things that we've done. So playoffs, more than 8 out of 10 of our fans say, hey, that's a great idea. It started at 50. Stage racing started at 50. Now we're up over 80%. So we're always trying to listen to the fan and kind of iterate around it, but it's
Joe, before we get to this call, what's been the most interesting thing the last year or two from a marketing standpoint? Just it could be completely anything. It could be a tactic you did on Instagram. It could be a brand coming to you that there's just hot takes, some of the interesting stuff on the intersection of marketing and NASCAR.
A lot of what we work with you guys on, the explosion of content, we would never say that it was good that we had the retirement of all of those big stars. That clearly was not the case. But
adversity leads to innovation.
Right, and given where the world is going, these young drivers are eager to prove themselves. They're out there, they're social natives, they are ready to take on the challenge. So we would have had a harder time, I think, adapting with with those veteran drivers that are like, you know what, I know what I need to do. So
this has been working for me for 20 years.
Right.
Screw you, Joe.
Right.
You know, like you tweet. Get out of my face.
I'm busy. I have all kinds of
Yeah.
engagements. Yeah.
Who's this?
Beans and rice.
Is the name of the person? Okay.
With a Z. Beans and Z.
You got it. Beans and rice with a Z. Understood.
Hello?
Beans! You're on the Ask Gary B show with the NASCAR crew.
Holy fuck. I literally had my heart drop.
Yeah? What? I'm glad you're on, Beans. I really am. And I love that you use a Z at the end of the Beans part. I think that's very clever. So what's your question?
Wow, I can't even tell you how much that means to me. I'll get right to it. Thank you guys for having me, but my question is, with NASCAR, I'm really not really into that sport personally, but I'm wondering how the needs have changed over time, how maybe like some of the challenges that y'all faced in the 90s or the 2000s, what were they, and also what are the needs and challenges facing y'all today and how they differ?
Beans, real quick, just because I love this stuff. What sports, if any, are you into?
Basketball, but really I'm a musician, so I'm not a huge sports head, and I'm like really, really far from being a NASCAR fan, but with much respect, I have a lot of respect for y'all.
That's great. And why basketball in a world where you're so hard music? Did you play it? Is it like your friends? Like, I'm just curious of the mapping of fandom.
Yeah, I think just culture, Jordans, which I now realizing you hate.
Can we get to that Kevin Love conversation?
Yeah, playing like pickup games at school and playing in middle school on the team.
I appreciate it, Beans. So what are the challenges? Let's just break it down. I'll DJ Beans' question because I'm curious for myself actually. When it was at its best moments, highest ratings ours, White Heat moment, and because I don't think you're down right now for sure, especially when I look at it historically, but in comparison to your White Heat moment, what were the challenges then, and what are the current challenges in your perspective?
Yeah, I think the challenges I think there were a lot of opportunities in the 90s, and there was kind of an explosion in NASCAR. A lot of it had to do with kind of taking what was considered to be a southern sport and expanding across the country. So
Beans, just to give you context, like back in the day, this was like, oh, that's that country thing. Like, you know, it was like, you know, there was a very, you know, specific geographic. No, by the way, just to put it into context, no different than lacrosse was a Northeast thing. Like, there's a lot of these things. Surfing, nobody's surfing in Oklahoma. You know, and so, like, you know, there's a lot of that. But it was, as a huge sport, it was unbelievably regional.
So I agree. So I think there were different challenges. There were media challenges because NASCAR races were on 12, 13 different networks.
And we consolidated
the media rights in 01, but just the kind of the expansion in
was
this
NASCAR's
country.
first national boost worldwide of sports? Like that's where I as a real young kid, and probably happening even before I was like, that's probably why I know Petty. Like it feels like worldwide of sports, or was that?
Well,
or Daytona 500.
I think Daytona 500. So the 79 Daytona 500.
Big fight.
Big fight.
Oh, right.
Big fight,
I remember that.
infield, punches being thrown,
That's
brothers
some good
involved.
shit.
It was like the seminal moment, and then we
It
took
made
off from
evening
there.
news
Yes.
from everywhere.
Yeah.
And so then
America was
we
like,
had-
wait,
then
those
here's
fuckers
like,
fight on this track?
It was the first live broadcast as well.
Got
So a lot of things came together.
Was the fight staged?
No,
It was
we-
not.
our drivers
They were
get pissed.
I know.
they put the helmet on,
But they
the
don't
brain
shoot.
like,
Yeah.
Tony Stewart was great for that
yeah,
stuff.
really, really good.
He was angry a lot.
Yeah, that's how I roll. So that was shot. What about now?
So I think now we've certainly got a number of challenges that we're overcoming. I think that the retirement thing was certainly But I think just people's
Was the TV
time.
switch, right? Because Fox was your big play in that White Heat moment, and I don't recall, but
So it was Fox, yeah. So we had Fox, and then we had NBC, TNT, and then we had switched back to ESPN.
Yeah, right.
And then we are now Fox and NBC.
Got
So
it.
we have great media partners, but I think it's people's time. We need to make sure that we're relevant, and
Yeah.
so that's why the changes to the racing itself, because we want it to be as exciting as it can be. So we want to race at the tracks that people want to go to see the racing that we want to see. We want close, competitive, side-by-side racing, guys mixing it up on the track, and in some cases off the track. So, but people's time is valuable.
Yeah.
You
There's
better,
options.
and you better
There's
have a
options.
compelling story to break through, because there's so much.
When I look at how much time is being spent watching my videos on YouTube, the first thing I always go to, I'm like, my God, 20 years ago that was going into TV shows, magazines, like, and that's one little thing. Me, just me.
So
You start thinking,
I agree. So you take a look at television ratings, right? So our TV ratings this year, all sports down 9%.
yeah, all.
Just fewer people watching television.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cord cutters, never cords, cord shavers. They're just not watching TV.
Or a generation, my little guy, 6-year-old, would rather watch a baseball game on his iPad with updated
Yeah.
moments. He has it on, but he only watches it on the iPad because he likes to see all the data around the at-bat. The game is literally on, but he's not watching it because he's watching it in real time on the iPad.
And that's exactly, so that's adapting, you're adapting to
Yes.
changing needs. And we're doing the same thing.
Love it.
Right? So for us, our ratings this year were +3. So are we back and killing it? We're coming
think you're
back.
onto something.
We're onto something.
And
it's
the
that
field is
young
number
drivers,
9.
it's-
Yeah.
And it's
And
the
with fewer
racing, it's the
people
drivers.
watching TV in general.
So for
Felix,
us,
I appreciate the call.
I also wanted to jump in and ask, does that compel you to try to convert maybe viewers who are obsessed with another sport, like hardcore basketball fans or hardcore soccer fans? Do you ever take the time to try to convert, or are you just really focused on the people who already like NASCAR?
The beans part of your question was just okay. The rice part of your question was amazing.
So I'll take this, and Jill can jump in. I
Thanks,
think we want to convert people who are where there's fertile ground, right? So if someone is just into basketball, we have a ton of crossover with other sports. So believe it or not, there are folks that watch golf that also love NASCAR.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
The biggest crossover for us actually is the NFL. We have
That also makes sense.
that crossover for us is huge.
What about college football? Or you don't
College football,
Yeah, I mean,
for
to
sure.
me, that feels super intuitive, right? The epicenter
Yeah.
of college football sits in a demo
in the Southeast,
Yeah.
no question. So for us, we need to make sure
Is
that
that
we're
beans?
I don't think so.
we're
Yeah.
nurturing the folks that we have, because we want to keep that hardcore fan. But then we need to find this younger, more diverse fan, and
100%.
we're working hard to
Any
do that.
sport that isn't thinking about youth and diversity is looking to not win 2030.
And storylines matter, right? People want storylines.
And you want to see somebody that looks like you.
That's exactly
The
right.
best thing that happened in baseball was Jackie Robinson. I mean, so anyway, let's move on. It's really interesting to me because, also one thing that I think people are starting to understand because of esports, and really let's call it what it is, the growth of go ahead. The growth of proper football, soccer in America, it's really interesting to understand that.
And the storylines matter.
Hey, Beans,
Hey, thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, great. Watching esports and soccer grow, reminds us, like I said in the meeting, or actually in the prior meeting, the heavyweight champion of the world was the most famous athlete.
Yeah.
Horses were more famous than football
People,
players.
yeah.
Hello?
Steven,
Yes.
it's Gary Vaynerchuk. You're on the Ask Gary V show with the
All
NASCAR.
right, Gary V.
Say
How
hello
are
to-
you today?
I'm well. Say hello to the NASCAR crew.
Yeah. How you doing, Steve? How you doing, Jill?
Great.
Great.
Steve.
How you doing, Steven?
Well, I think you made a great segue to my question, is talking about esports there, Gary V. So we got a driver right now, William Byron, driver of the number 24 car, who made his start racing in e-racing, and you got a big event this week on NBC where you televised iRacing, e-racing for the very first time. What does the future of that look like for NASCAR?
Yeah, Steve. Go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that the fact that William Byron sat on the pole of the Daytona 500 and did no racing until he did iRacing, which is our simulated esports product, is a story that hasn't been told. You could start doing
That's an
that
insane
today.
story.
You could be, and that's the pinnacle of
And
our
I'll tell
sport.
you why. I'm not sure there is another sport that will have that happen.
You can't go play Madden and then go play for the Jets. Well, maybe you could play for the Jets.
No, you're right. I mean, I wish I could. I'm not good enough at that either. No, that's right. That is actually remarkable. And actually, look, I think that soccer matters in America because of FIFA. I was there when the first FIFA Nintendo Sega Genesis game came out, and I bought it because I bought all video games back then, and none of my friends wanted to play because nobody gave a shit about soccer in 1994. And then slowly but surely, FIFA got bigger and bigger and bigger. But again, back to that point, you're not playing for Liverpool after being awesome. The fact that you guys have that might actually be the singular unlock.
Well, and I think the hardest thing for us is you can't go play NASCAR in the backyard, right?
So back to the guy who
right.
said basketball, right?
Right.
I was thinking that.
Exactly. So this is a way that you can participate and understand how our sport works and get to be good at it without having to go to a racetrack. We want everybody
Did
to
you
come to
guys,
races.
Jill, I apologize.
Yeah.
Did you guys think that was going to happen when you first rolled out the program? Or was that even too big of a leap for you guys that somebody's going to sit at home, get great at this, and then actually be a fucking player?
Well, I don't think we could have never scripted that ourselves. We get accused of scripting a lot of
Did
things.
you believe that was going to happen?
No.
I didn't either.
No
I
way.
did not. But
Not just,
just-
and he's driving Jeff Gordon's car. This kid, William Byron, who was doing nothing at age 15. picked
Nothing
up
in the
iRacing.
sport. I'm sure
Nothing
he's a
in the
nice
sport.
guy.
Yeah, he's a great kid. And he's driving one of the most iconic cars at the highest level. And so I think that the more people that understand and get exposed to NASCAR through
Joe, I'll be
iRacing.
very honest with you. I'm not sure I made the connection point for the question, Stephen. Thank you for asking. I actually think that's the complete unlock. It's crazy. That will capture the imagination of an enormous amount of girls and boys that are the only place you can go from video game to actual profession is NASCAR. Actually, think it's true.
Well, I think that the other component to that too, and Jill alluded to it, you can't go in the backyard and do it. But you can do it online, and you can do iRacing, and it is incredible simulated racing.
Well, clearly, that's
Yes.
the point that I didn't make the connection on, which is you got the product is so good
That's right.
that the mapping of being great at it maps enough to real life. That's nuts.
Well, I think the nice thing about it too is car racing is expensive, and so you can figure out early and often whether you're good at it or not. So you're not spending,
No,
tens of
I've
thousands
always
of
thought that this
dollars.
was hockey's biggest issue. It's expensive to be in youth hockey, which eliminates a lot of great athletes from ever getting into the pipe.
Yeah, and the fact that NBC is going to broadcast it, that's going to be huge exposure for it. And that's Stephen's question is that, the fact that our media partners are taking this component of NASCAR seriously is going to be even bigger and expose more people to it.
Stephen, I appreciate the question.
Yep, no problem. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching the show. All right, let's go one more in. That was a great question.
It's really good.
I really got to tell you, I think there's something real there. I think that's something that you have that is so much an advantage compared to any other sport.
I agree. Well, I think the other thing too is the people that do iRacing, they're absolutely nuts about it. And that's the cool thing.
Who's this?
Guitars ruin lives.
Excuse me?
Guitars ruin lives. He plays guitar.
This is Josh.
Josh, it's Gary Vaynerchuk. You're on the Ask Gary V show.
Okay, it's happening. Shit. Let's do this. What's up, Gary?
Things are good. Please say hello to Steve and Jill.
Hello, Steve and Jill. I'm doing my best to hear you. It's a little quiet, but I'll bear with it. Thank you, guys.
No worries. What's your question?
So the question as I put it forth in the comments there was, I think it's interesting looking at sponsorship as something, as a way, I'm no huge NASCAR fan, so I'm not posing here, but at least, everybody's familiar with the concept of the patches being on them and all that stuff. And I imagine there's a lot that has gone into that as far as drivers and their promoters, their managers, marketing and using that as a cross-pollination thing culturally and business-wise, of course, trying to drive business. And I think it's interesting looking at that compared to influencer culture and all the things that you talk about as far as DMing and whether you're looking at it from the business angle or the business using influencers to promote their agenda or vice versa. I think that's fascinating, so I'm curious if your guests could speak a little bit to that kind of model and if you could speak to how that relates to what influencers should be doing today.
Well, I think for our drivers, I mean, the sponsors can be in the field of play. The sponsors are their personal partners, so it's not slapping a logo on a uniform or getting a personal services agreement. They are in the fabric of what makes these drivers tick. So I think for us, it's, we've got to pay attention to that. I think where we also kind of struggle a little bit.
Some of the sponsors are actually integrated into the product, but some aren't, right?
No, they aren't, but they are, so
like the M&M's card, the most integrated could be is he or she's eating the M&M's during the race.
Yeah, which may happen. Dick Turkle used to have candy in his car, right? We know the Dick Turkle story. But your brand is on the car. Your brand is on the field. Very few brands are on the field.
And even the NBA, which has gone progressive. Obviously, soccer in Europe is probably the only comp.
Right.
The NBA has been, that little logo in the top left is really tipping your toe.
Right.
In comparison to your point, which even soccer, which is at its scale, a car is much bigger than a jersey.
Well, and I think the other thing is our fans, they're passionate and they're trained. They expect sponsorship. They want to wear the jacket with the huge M&M's logo on it, and so that makes our sport even more valuable.
I assume just because I buy things at garage sales and sell them, knowing that M&M culture and collecting is real, I assume some people become fan of the driver because of M&M's.
Oh, absolutely. Especially, think about your 5-year-old example. Kids like Kyle Busch because he drives the M&M's car, and then they grow up to be Kyle Busch fans. The Candyman.
Budweiser and Dale, and doesn't matter.
It's a really good brand fit there.
Yeah, that was a real good one. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, look, I think that what people don't realize is this is a huge advantage for NASCAR in a couple different ways, in my opinion. But where it really gets interesting is I think almost every human is going to do a sponsored deal in 2040. I think by the year 2040, most humans in our society are going to be in a place where they'll do some sort of commercial transaction through them. Because I think technology will advance enough that, my dream for my brands is to actually get the alpha mom who has 212 followers on Instagram, but she influences 7 people on her block or at school, and basically I want to give her a free bottle of wine. That's what she is worth to my business. But I wish I could do that now. There's a lot of dollars that go into the people finding, there's not infrastructure. But that's where I think it's crazy. I think it's not out of the question that the dynamics we see in NASCAR actually translate to people driving in real life. That if you told me by 2060 everybody's car was sponsored out, I'd be like, I understand. They're not going to get the kind of numbers that all the eyeballs that the racers get, but I think it's really cool, and I think there's a lot of clever bridges that can be built.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the question.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gary. I need to take one moment and just say thank you. I discovered you about 2 months ago and deal with a lot. I was watching your interview with Mr. Lowe the other day, and I deal with a lot of things that he has talked about, and I wanted to tell you that literally listening to you and your podcast daily has done more for me than any pill or any other way that I've had to medicate as far as getting my ass going and being enthusiastic about life. And I'm wearing your shoes, and I got your hoodie. Thank you.
You're an amazing dude. Thank you. You can't imagine, you can keep the shoes and hoodies you can return. That sentence meant the world to me. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
you have something to say about the Kevin Love podcast. I've been dying since our business meeting and now the
Yes,
podcast.
well, I mean, I
What-
think
what-
it's more lighthearted.
I
A
know.
more lighthearted
Yeah.
piece of the Kevin
So
Love.
what was it?
I took offense to your comment that all Warriors fans are
bandwagon?
the bandwagon
Are you a real
Silicon
Warrior
Valley
fan?
types that.
Are you a real Warriors fan?
I'm a real Warriors fan. Run TMC.
Yeah. Listen,
Tim, Mitch, and Chris.
yes, listen, there are real Warrior fans. Not all are, but the stunning amount of percentage of bandwagon Warrior fans is extraordinary.
Well,
and it's
that-
not the kids who get inspired at 6'7". What am I going to do there? I'm actually talking about the
The courtside
hundreds.
seats.
Yeah, you forget about the richest people in Silicon Valley, and they can buy it, and they're completely full of shit, and they like the Lakers 10 years earlier or whatever. As fans, I don't even know most of them well enough to know as humans. I'm talking about the masses that are sitting in 12 rows back, who are also quite well off, that I actually fully know. The hundreds of them that I met during my 2006, 7, 8, 9 years, those years in Silicon Valley, every week, every other week, every month, and being a sports fan and wanting to talk about things besides nerd tech in 2007, maybe you could find a San Francisco Giants fan because they were playing well, but literally when I would say things like, what do you think of Monty Ellis? They were like, who's that? And I was like, well, what about the Warriors? And they're like, who are they?
Yeah.
And I was like, the Golden State Warriors are here. And they're like, they are?
Just so you know, Gary was so passionate about his lack of knowledge of any true Warriors fans that he wanted the Cavs to win that series, and he was excited, even though he's not a Cavs fan.
That wasn't it. I'm sorry, you missed the nuance. It's that I hate Michael Jordan so much that I've been rooting for LeBron since he was a high school player.
I did miss that.
Yeah, and if tomorrow there's hype around a new 15-year-old, that person will immediately become somebody I adore and hope wins 7 championships so they can be the number one. So Jordan can be not the next, but like to me, like Anthony Davis, it is literally Knicks and then LeBron to win as many rings as possible because I just hate Michael Jordan that much. I genuinely do. Final points that we didn't get to for both of you. Joe?
I would say give NASCAR a try. What you're going to see is huge competition, backstories, passion, drama, and you've got a group of drivers that's really compelling to watch. And
Actually, I want to ask you this. You just said it, and I was just saw this in my mind. I see a big crossover. I've had a lot of friends through the years that I grew up like wrestling, really get into NASCAR because what you just said, stories. There's some real, every sport has them,
right.
But there's so much tradition
Right.
in NASCAR that it's a second or third generation kid, or B, it's the first Mexican American to do it. It's the first Asian American, it's the first female. There's so much tradition that either you're part of the establishment or you're breaking ground into the establishment, and it always makes for compelling stories.
Yes, and with the wide swath of drivers we have, they're relatable. So I think you can find a driver that you look at and say, that guy
looks like
seems
me.
cool. He likes the kind of music I liked. He had the same upbringing I had.
Including one of the only major sports, if not the only major sports, that is a place where we will see females play at the
Same
highest
same
level.
level, absolutely.
Which
I
I
think
think is
that- yeah.
Oh, you like that? You're
I
very
think
woke, India. You're very woke. So woke. You were just
She's
gonna
moving to
woke-
Portland.
You're
You
just
have
gonna
to be
woke.
woke.
You're just gonna woke your way to Portland, aren't you?
I think the cool thing about it too is our guys, by and large, our guys aren't prima donnas. They're authentic to who they are.
Oh, they definitely have
And
that
they-
hockey DNA, right?
Yeah,
That's
so-
everybody always talks about NASCAR.
But I have a theory about that.
Go ahead.
My theory about that is these guys. So you're 17 years old. You
Yep.
want to ask this girl to go to the prom.
Go ahead.
You're a national karting champion.
Yes.
She is going to go with the backup tight end to the prom
100,000%.
versus you.
100%.
And so you don't,
Every time.
Every time. And so you have to stay grounded, and that's what these guys are. They're grounded, and they
I actually think NASCAR, hockey, and some degree baseball's biggest problem is sometimes they stay too grounded. I really do.
Yeah.
I think, they think of storytelling or putting out content as showboating instead of as sharing information. I was,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of guys that have been able to break through and are like, it's not showboating.
Right.
That's what
We need
educate
to do,
people how to
right.
change a tire. Like I am, you know.
Yeah.
Well, you'll even see that when they talk about, success that they have, and they'll say they thank everyone else, but it's not like, hey, I kicked ass today.
That was the guys back at the
back
shop.
at the shop, or the crew.
Always.
Hey, the crew
Always.
guys made,
By the way,
good
that's
stuff.
one of the more fascinating parts of the sport. I mean, like the pit, that crew matters.
They do.
Like that gets into like my favorite. Like I've always used the offensive line quarterback analogy with the pit and driver.
Yeah.
The driver's gonna get all the headlines,
Right.
but like the offensive line really matters.
Yeah.
Pit crew really matters.
Really nice.
Really matters.
Real, and they're tremendous athletes, and it's phenomenal. It's like
I think the pit crews are better athletes, like net athletes than the drivers. Like net, like if you just think about like
no
I
question.
right?
No,
Like
you
when I
get
look,
a ton of
this is common sense debate. I could be wrong, but when I look at them, like, yeah, they're like they've got like
They're jacking up a 3,500-pound car. They're running around,
Yeah.
changing tires in
and they're
10 seconds.
jumping over, sliding through. It's like every second matters.
Right. So,
It does.
I appreciate you guys being on the show.
thanks for
It's
having
awesome.
us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck, India.
Thank you.
Indy, any parting shots?
No, I think I've said everything I need to say.
You have been. You've been crushing content.
I've been really trying, yeah. I learned from the best.
It's true. The king. Thanks for listening.
Oh, we have a new nickname.
On this episode, we wish India the Great goodbye, and we talk NASCAR. That was awesome. Great job, guys.
Enjoyed it.
That was a lot of fun. Good stuff.